What's up, everybody? Welcome to Keep It at 9450, Codename WBB. I'm Daniel Artest, your host. We got KDot with me. And on this episode of the Training Ground series, where we're talking about each WNBA team on separate episodes during this preseason, we are talking about the Chicago Sky today. And this is a team that has been making a lot of waves in the WNBA for several seasons now, winning a championship and everything. Last year was basically a transformative season. I think that the Sky, they went under a major reconstruction of their roster, losing key players, and probably going to struggle to keep up with the competition this year. KDot, what's your thoughts on the Chicago Sky this season, brother?
Hey, yo, what up? What it is? What's popping? I think that getting right into it with the roster makeup, they have tons of talent on this roster.
Yeah.
I do believe that with, of course, the returning finals MVP of 2021 in Kahleah Copper, she's going to lead the way, obviously. But there were some surprise free agent picks that I was able to look at and be like, okay, I didn't have them going to Chicago. Courtney Williams, Elizabeth Williams. I did not see them from that standpoint going to Chicago, but great veterans. And I'm excited to just really see how their veteran presence, will take part in what the Chicago Sky is going to be able to do this season. Now, my sleeper for this roster in particular is Dana Evans. We have praised Dana Evans over and over again. And for us to, in our opinions, have the chance to see her thrive this year, I think is going to be a great thing to see. And then, of course, with Izzy Harrison coming in, Marina Mabry, in that, if you will, it wasn't necessarily quote unquote a blockbuster deal, but it was a pretty big deal in going to Chicago with the restricted free agency sign and trade type situation, her going to Chicago with Diamond DeShields coming to Dallas, and then with the other roster selections and going to Phoenix. I think that you're going to have tons of shooting. I think that there's going to be a little dip in defense, in my opinion, because the loss of Candace Parker is huge, especially from a communication standpoint. As Hall of Fame worthy as Candace Parker is, that's a huge loss. And then when you also look at the loss of Emma Miesemann as well, because looking at this training camp roster, I do not see Emma Miesemann on this roster. So the loss of Emma Miesemann and her versatility and what she was able to do is going to definitely take heed. And we just want to see what Coach James Wade is going to be able to do just from a coaching standpoint. But I really look at the Chicago Sky this year as being somewhat in like that chasing the playoff type team. You may see that they're looking really good in the beginning of the season, and then they'll take a dip. And then towards the end of the season, I think they would try to scratch and claw to find their way into the playoffs, and they can ultimately fall short or ultimately end up making that last spot. I can see like that fluctuation this year because I'm not sleeping on this roster. You have veterans on this roster. You have great talent on this roster. And more importantly, you have the shooting and the defense. And that's what basketball is predicated on today anyway. Great shooting, phenomenal defense. So I'm not going to take too much of a slight on Chicago because it's a luck of the draw at this point. It's a dice shooting game because, again, with those veterans, I'm pretty sure that these veterans aren't going to just lay down and just have a bad season just because there's a brand new roster. So I think that can be like a mid-type season for the Chicago Sky. What about you?
Yeah, and you just touched on all three subjects in 4 minutes. That's the end of the show right there. That is the end of the show. Because I was going to talk about, let's talk about the roster construction because of the offseason with Candace Parker being lost to the Aces, Courtney Vandersloot going to the Liberty, players, Stu Fall, Emma Miesemann staying in Europe and everything. Also, you already talked about Coach Wade, his efforts to build around Kahleah Copper. And now the addition of the tough veterans to the roster of Chicago and stuff. But yeah, you know what though? As I look at this roster, I think that they are devoid of a lot of star power, but they have gritty players, skilled players and everything. And I agree with you, man. I think that the potential for Kahleah Copper breakout season to happen, I think that, I don't know if she can be one of the top scorers in the league yet. I haven't seen that yet, if she can average 20, 25 a game. Because that's what it looked like. If somebody's going to have to do that, be that leading scorer, be that person that can rely on offense. I know what Kalia Copper can do. I'm not saying that she can't do it, but definitely can she do it? You know what I'm saying? If you understand where I'm coming from. And also, yes, Dana Evans, bro. Dana Evans had a great season overseas. I ain't really watch a lot of her games, but I have seen when they be posting up her numbers, a lot of 30s, a lot of 30 balls in there. I thought I was going to have any questions about the starting point guard position, but I think that Dana Evans, she should be able to hold that position down for a second. And as far as a possibility for a playoff berth for the Chicago Sky, KDot, to be honest, I really don't know, man. I really don't know. Yes, they got a lot of veterans and some young players that's not going to lay down. I don't think that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be tough. I think that it's going to be real tough because of the star power for the top teams that we're going to get into. Also, Atlanta making that jump. Also, Washington is nothing to be trifled with right now. I think that with Chicago, what they got to do this season going in, they're going to have to win the games that they are supposed to win and also be the winners of those other good teams' trap games. Like, they're going to have to catch a lot of teams that's ahead of them. They're going to have to catch them slipping. And I think they can do that more than anything, but I think that's what it's going to have to take. Questions, though, we talking about Coach Wade and what he's doing with this roster, but I questioned his decisions to trade the picks to get these players to reload this roster. I think that he sacrificed the long-term success for short-term results. So I'm thinking that he's betting on developing his young players right now because he gave up 2 picks in the 2024-2025 draft, which is that 2024 draft is going to be crazy. The 2025 draft, depending on who's coming out, is going to be crazy. These next 2 drafts has the potential to be something special. I think in 2024, I feel like there's definitely 20 first round players in this draft. You know what I'm saying? But the top 7 is going to be good. I feel like every team is going to have a good player in these next 2 drafts. What's your thoughts on the strategy, though, of James Wade?
Yeah, for me, the strategy of James Wade in that regards, to me, it's head scratching. Mortgaging your future for like mediocre success right now, because let's just be very frank, there's going to be mediocre success. You're having to go against Washington. You're even having to go against Connecticut. You're having to go against the New York Liberty. In that sort of regard, right? When you're competing against those type of teams in the Eastern Conference, if you will, right? Let's just look at it from a Eastern Conference, Western Conference standpoint. If you look at it from that particular standpoint and you try to navigate how you're going to be able to compete, I really think that it's more mid-level from a competition standpoint as it compares to an elite level. If you look at the matchups, you're going to have some horrible matchups at some nights. And just like you said earlier, you're going to have to win the games that you're supposed to win. And you're going to have to sneak those wins off of those trap games from those elite teams that are coming out this year. Definitely think that kind of like mortgaging that, I really thought that it was head scratching. But again, we're talking about the business of the WNBA. So the business of the WNBA is right now. You really don't understand the future. You really don't know the future right now. And it's unfortunate to talk about it in that regards, but it's true. Everything is on a year by year basis. It's not on a future by future basis. It's not based off of the strength of potential. Unfortunately, I think that's what he was thinking. And again, to me, whether he was thinking that or not, I just felt like it was head scratching because 2024 and 2025, to me, they're elite drafts. And why not save that unless he knows something that we don't from a front office standpoint? But I truly think that was still a little bit head scratching to me. But we'll see if he can prove the likes of us wrong. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely, man. And just to conclude this episode, despite losing several key players, the Chicago Sky basically trying to reload their roster, aiming to make a playoff run in this 2023 WNBA season. I think that the success of this strategy, I think it remains to be seen, honestly, KDot. And I think that it's going to be all season long, this debate around the importance of Wade developing these players for long-term success versus sacrificing those draft picks and betting on short-term results. I'm thinking, like, I don't know, does he think he has a roster to compete for a championship? But maybe he does, but I think that the fans is going to say otherwise. But that's all for this episode of the Chicago Sky on the 9450 Codename WB Training Ground Series. We hope that you enjoyed this dive into the roster and this upcoming season for the Chicago Sky. Don't forget to follow us at the 9450 on Twitter. All right, that being said, I'm Daniel Artest. That's KDot. Love is love. Peace.
Peace out.